Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is Cuisine Royale. This is my tips and tricks video version 2. I'm doing an updated version of a video I've done previously that I'll recommend checking out. I'm going to assume that you've watched that and that you know pretty much what you're doing. But this is a video to show you some other tips that I've come up with and things that I use when I'm playing to get the most out of this game. Now, I'm not going to go too much into the traps because they're currently a short-term thing that isn't going to be around forever, but I'm currently enjoying the zombie trap, as you get to see a load of zombies chasing after me, and I failed to use them effectively here and ended up getting killed while running away from them. Now, my first tip is if you get caught out in the blue, if you've managed to get in a situation where you're not in the safe circle, use your pan or pistol or knife when you're trying to run, because you'll notice that LMGs and submachine guns and rifles and things will slow you down. You can actually run faster with a pan in your hand. Obviously using the knee pads of speed is beneficial, and if you have the halo, that also helps with being in the blue. But if you don't have any of those things, then equip your melee weapon or your pistol and you'll be able to run a little bit quicker. And I've sped this up to obviously just get the point, but the point I want to make that I've made in a previous video is the importance of lofts. It's always worth checking lofts because you'll often find some goodies in there, and even in towns that have been looted, sometimes the lofts have been left because people don't realise. So when you go in a building, look up. If there's a loft hatch, go up in that loft and check it out. Up there I found this lovely Panzerschreck, which I'm going to put to good use. However, it's worth noting that the Panzerschreck is not the ultimate weapon at all times. Splash is usually really good, however if you shoot it into the water it's completely ineffective. I wasted this shell, completely missed. I also found on multiple occasions that the Panzerschreck and the bazooka are no use against vehicles. As you can see here, when I managed to shoot this car, get a direct hit and do absolutely no damage to the guy. Ended up finishing him off with a shotgun. I've seen that on buses and all sorts. Now, a recent update that they've added in is the ability to change the control schemes and add a ping system. So you can have a spotting system. If you look here at the bottom, there's a mark enemy. Now that is worth using. I've assigned that to a mouse button on my mouse that allows me to quickly press and put a marker where the enemy are, so it's easily identifiable to teammates. Obviously you can use your VoIP to identify where enemies are to your teammates via the compass, but this is a really quick and easy way of doing it. You can also notice hint item for teammates, which is the left directional button on the keyboard on PC. That basically puts a mark on items you found in the world, which I'll show you in a minute. Now it's worth marking things, items such as fridges. You can mark these two fridges, for example. I could mark those if I don't need them. But any other high-end items that your teammates might need, large bags, improved pieces of armor that you already have, weapons that they might be interested in, that sort of thing, you can hit that button and tell them where they are, and that puts a little marker down for them to be easily get hold of it, because it's much easier than trying to explain it with your voice. Now you can see the mark enemy in action as I'm using it here. As I see a couple of enemies in the trench line, I mash my mouse button to put that little red marker on where they are. Now it doesn't follow them, but it gives my teammate a rough idea of where they are. I could call out that they're about 60 degrees northeast of our current position, and that would be another way of doing it. But you can combine that with this new marker system, and if you put it on a mouse button, it makes it really quick and easy, or a really easily accessible button on your keyboard, anything that you want to customize it to, and that makes it easy to then mark their enemy and get them killed quickly, or at least get some suppressing fire down on them, which then helps eliminate the problem and progress with the game. I think that's a really nice addition they've put in there. VoIP is really important to use. I play duos most of the time, sometimes squads, so using the VoIP is really handy. Obviously marking enemies is not going to be much use if you're playing on your own. Here you can see I mark this large bag that I find in the trench as well, so that puts a little marker and indicates to them. I find that it's worth doing that multiple times because it draws the attention more. You can see I've said there, large bag is here, large bag is here, large bag is here 3 times, and that helps them see. It gives them a hint that's what they should get, because large bag's pretty good. My next hint is to actually not aim, which sounds a bit random, but there is a slight auto aim in the game, which means that when you point your weapon at an enemy, you can then just pull the trigger and you will get a slight lock on, and that allows you to get an easier kill than aiming. A lot of times you'll find fast moving enemies make it really difficult to get a kill while aiming. The other thing is to pay attention to your surroundings. It's worth being quiet and stealthy. I've talked about this before. Things like wearing back armor and bottom armor, especially over Mark 1, they'll jangle and make a lot of noise. You can crouch and walk quietly around, and in this situation I managed to sneak up on the guy that had just killed my teammate and shoot him in his back. Now I was aiming there. You can press V to go into first person to get a clearer view of the world. Obviously that means you can't see over obstacles with the third person, but it does mean that you can get down the sights a bit easier. Also, you'll note that if you are aiming, you'll hear that sound of your little insect third person camera creature moving its wings. So if you hear that sound when you're in a town or something, you hear that bzzz noise, and you know that someone's aiming, and that gives away where they are. My other tip would be use whatever cover you can. In this situation, my teammates called out that there is an enemy nearby, and I haven't got much cover, so you use a fridge as cover, which should be an unusual thing to hide behind, but you can use that, and then bang, 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 enemy's dead. Aiming is obviously pretty decent if you've got a scope, and it's worth doing if you've got time and the ability to aim down the sights and get the most out of it. My next tip would be to get up high as often as you can. Now you can use the bunny slippers, as I pointed out in the last video, to bounce up high and get on top of roofs. However, it is really noisy doing that, and if you can climb up without doing it, then that's a much better way of a much quieter way of doing it. I try to avoid using the bunny slippers. I'd much rather stick with the knee pads of speed, an IV bag or a Cuban cigar, because that makes you quieter. And I'm going to demonstrate here that it is possible to climb up even the biggest building without knee pads and without the bunny slippers. And you can do that, and you just keep mashing that button. But if you climb near the drain pipes, you can usually climb up either up the drain pipe or up to 2 windows and then get onto the roof. I actually managed to mess it up here. It is sometimes a bit easier than this, but it is possible to do, and I will show you successfully managing it. Now, getting the height advantage is important because you can then see the world around you from multiple directions. It does expose you a little bit if enemies come from behind, but you can always flit over to the other side of the roof and return fire that way. So that's a really good way of doing it. And you can also now climb trees, which is quite cool. So you can get up high in a tree, and that is a good way to stealth out of the way of them and potentially hide from enemies and maybe surprise them, because not many people will know that you can climb up a tree. It does make seeing a bit difficult. It's a bit hard to see out of here, but also quite well hidden. My next tip is to, if you engage an enemy, make sure you've got time to heal. Now you can press T to quickly heal, or you can press Tab and go in and press your mouse wheel on the food that you want to eat. But you can't run and heal anymore. You can walk and heal though, which is worth knowing. So if you press C and then walk, you can still move around that way, so you can keep moving while healing, but you can't really do much else. So it is worth finding some cover and healing up as quickly as you can. And I still got killed anyway, but it's worth knowing. Another thing they've done is they've added a little marker next to your teammate's name, which will let you know what weapon they're using. So if you look in the left corner just above the minimap, you'll see your teammate's name and you'll see the weapon type they're using. That's really handy because you can then look for ammo for those weapons in the world. If you happen to come across a gun that they're using that's particularly good, let's say they've got an MG42 or a bazooka or something, if you see ammo for that, you could pick up the ammo for it and give it to them rather than hoarding it to yourself, and that's a good way. Sharing that ammo out obviously means that you're a better, more effective team, and that you can got a better chance of winning. And if they die, you can then take their weapon anyway and carry on and win the game. So this has been the Provoked Prawn. Hope you found these tips useful. Please check out my other video if you haven't already, and like, subscribe, and come back for more in future. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or if you'd like to know anything else about this game. Thanks for watching.
Oh, the zombie saved you! Nice.